Revelation 2866. From the 1st of September 1943. Spiritual decline. Teaching of Christ. Additions. There is a constant spiritual decline, and not least responsible for this is Christ's teaching, which has been misrepresented to people, which has experienced many additions and thus become untrustworthy to people. The divine teaching of love as such would be acceptable to people, even if they are not willing to follow it. They nevertheless cannot produce any valid reasons to reject it as a teaching which has no ennobling effect. The human additions, however, meet with little approval. The right-thinking person rejects them because he does not regard them as divine will. The worldly man, however, also rejects the whole divine teaching with them because he transfers the human origin of those additional teachings to the former as well. This is, so to speak, a justification for him to deny divine origin. Thus he disregards the divine teaching of love, and this results in a spiritual decline which is extremely significant. Love alone is spiritual progress. Through loving activity the human being redeems himself, and loving activity is constantly preached to him as soon as he lets himself be taught by those who try to spread Christ's teaching of love in the world. For Christ taught nothing else but that people should live in love, that they should develop upwards through service in love, thus gain God's pleasure, so that God's love will incline towards all those who respect his teaching of love and thus seek and find unity with God, who is eternal love himself. But as soon as a person believes he can live without love, he walks a downward path on earth. He does not strive for spiritual perfection and does not remain on the same level of development either, but his desire, his love, does not turn towards the neighboring human being but towards dead things, and thus it is not a redeeming but a once again binding love which pulls the human being ever further down, chains him ever more firmly to matter and finally leads to a repeated course through the entire works of creation. At present humanity has reached a spiritual level which cannot be emphasized enough as a spiritual step backwards because humanity no longer believes in what Jesus Christ taught on earth. It pays more attention to the additional work of man than to his teachings and has thereby departed from the right path. From the path of active neighborly love. Or it has detached itself from the demands placed on humanity by man. From actions which were made obligatory for people as divine commandments and were recognized by them as erroneous. With this human work the pure teaching of Christ has also been rejected and frowned upon, and people have completely abandoned their mission in life. They live their earthly life without knowledge and consequently also without any success. Love has to be practiced if the human being is to progress in his development. And thus love also has to be taught. And thus Christ's teaching of love must also be acknowledged and followed, otherwise the human being's development will experience a stagnation, a standstill, which will gradually lead to spiritual decline. Spiritually and earthly, however, a spiritual decline results in the most evil consequences, which is why God, in his love, leaves no stone unturned to stop it and to make people realize that they have to strive and that their higher development is extremely endangered. That they are in danger of descending into the abyss from which they can only develop upwards again with dreadful agonies until they are allowed to fulfill the law of love in free will again. Amen.